Hi everyone, this is Andy Smith from Numberwise Accounting, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the employee retention credit for your fitness business. You might have heard a little bit about the employee retention credit, but in my opinion, it's not getting nearly the publicity it should. There were some changes to it in late 2020 that made it a lot more valuable for businesses and fitness businesses in particular. So I wanted to give a little bit of a background on the credit and how it could save your business thousands of dollars, if not more. So you might remember in 2020, they introduced the employee retention credit. At the time, you weren't allowed to take the credit if you got a PPP loan. So many people kind of ignored the credit. But late in 2020, they actually said, no, we're going to change the rules. You're allowed to take the credit even if you got a PPP loan. So the very basics of the credit for 2020 are that if you paid wages during an eligible period, you can claim a credit of 50% of those wages. Now, for fitness businesses, it's really important to understand the eligible period. There is a revenue decline possibility, but they also allow you to claim the credit in any period where your operations were suspended due to COVID protocols. So if you had a government agency tell you that you couldn't open your gym to full capacity and you were still paying wages during that time for trainers to do online or to do limited classes, any of that stuff, you can claim a credit. Now, they made some changes in 2021 to the credit. They extended it through all the way through the end of 2021, and now you can get a credit of 70% of the wages that you pay. And not only that, the revenue decline number is reduced to 20%, and you can now take $10,000 in wages per employee per quarter. So not just for the whole year, but per quarter. So they made some great changes to the rule in 2021. And the main reason I want to talk about it now is if you took the PPP loan, you probably didn't claim the credit in 2020. And you might not even know it exists in 2021. So now is the time to look back at 2020 and decide, should I go back and claim the credit? Can I go back and claim the credit? And should I be claiming the credit now going forward? So it's not the simplest in calculations. I'm going to do a quick example here, but I definitely think you're going to have to look at your circumstances to determine if you qualify. But let's just say you received a PPP loan in May of 2020, and you use those funds over May and June to pay payroll, to pay utilities, to pay rent. But by end of June 2020, you had used all the money up. You continued to be shut down partially, but you were paying employees for the rest of the year. And let's say you had 10 employees that you were paying $15,000 each for that period. If you do the math, the cap on the credit is $5,000 per employee. So 10 employees, $5,000 each. You could go back, file amended payroll tax returns, and get a credit of $50,000. The best part is some people think this is a credit on, say, future payroll taxes. You actually get a check for $50,000 if you were to do this. So for a lot of people, that helps a lot. And this is just going back into 2020. Remember, the credit extends into 2021, so as long as you continue to qualify, meaning as long as you are partially suspended in some way or your revenue has declined for 2021 by at least 20%, then you can continue to claim this credit. Now, one of the big things you're going to want to look at is actual timing of the PPP and when you can use the employee retention credit, because keep in mind, you can do both, but you can't use the same wages for both. So another example, if you got the PPP loan May 1st, 2020, $100,000, and from May 1st through your full 24-week period, which would have ended October 15th, 2020, let's say you paid $150,000 in wages during that time and $40,000 in rent and utilities. So as you can see, you used all of the money for wages and rent and utilities, so you're fine. But if you're filling out that forgiveness application, and if you just want to take a shortcut and say, I'm just going to claim all $100,000 for wages, then there's only $50,000 left to claim the employee retention credit for that period. If instead you say, no, I can use $40,000 of running utilities for that period, only claim $60,000 as PPP wages, then you have $90,000 left over for the employee retention credit. And so at that 50% rate, you can see that difference could be as high as $20,000 in cash that the credit would be different. So it's one of the big things you're going to have to do is figure out when you had the PPP money, when you used it up, for which employees. So right now the questions you're going to ask is, do you qualify for the employee retention credit? That's the first one, obviously. When did you qualify? In 2020, 2021? Doing the math on when you were shut down, how much of a revenue decline you had. The second thing, if you assume that you do qualify and you did get the PPP money, is trying to figure out when you used that PPP money. When it ran out, you can have some employees that were using PPP money, some who weren't. And then the last thing, obviously, is if you do qualify it, you calculate the amount, and how do you actually claim the credit? It's a fairly simple to claim it, but you'll probably have to work with your payroll company to do it. So unfortunately, it's not the easiest thing to do, but I definitely think there's enough money out there with this credit that you want to do the math. I would expect that you're going to need help doing this, and you probably need to expect to pay for that help, whoever you find to help you do this. There are a lot of companies out there charging a lot of money to do it. For some people, it'll be simpler than others, but definitely if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I have my email address and our website there. Definitely, I think, go back and find out for your fitness business how much money you can save with the employee retention credit.